and I am delighted to have Denise Musselwhite here with me today. And we're going to have a wonderful discussion. Denise has an unusual background. She's an executive coach, and she is recently certified, or in the past year or so, with CDR assessments. And what really fascinates me too is she specializes in technology as well as some other areas. She's got a wide scope of experiences, but she has been a CIO and other things. So and she coaches many women in technology as well as others. So and she's a dynamo, energetic. So I just said we need to invite Denise onto CDR Live. So welcome, Denise. So glad you're joining us.
I'm so excited to be here.
And you're coming in from Florida, correct? Yep. So I have to ask, I'm in Houston. It's been like 100 degrees every day. How's your weather in Florida?
It is, interestingly, not as torturously hot as in Houston.
Okay, good.
But it's more humid here. So you walk outside and you immediately sweat.
Yes. Okay. That's the way it is in the morning here. You walk outside and you're drenched, So anyway, well, hopefully both of us will stay nice and cool in the air conditioning.
Yes, but you're safety inside.
To mention that. And also just a shout out to our dear friend, Carolyn Maui, who recommended us to you. So thanks, Carolyn. And so I want to tell you a little bit. I'm going to go over Denise's bio, which is very impressive. She's a respected technology professional with over 2 decades of experience in senior leadership roles in legal, education, technology, and nonprofit sectors. She's among less than 5% of Latina women globally to serve as a chief information officer and board chair. Denise founded Tech and Thrive, a consulting and coaching practice dedicated to growth and potential of diverse technology professionals. She holds a BS in information technology management and an MS in leadership and professional certificates in executive coaching, self-optimization, board leadership, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. Denise is a catalyst for change, helping organizations keep, grow, and attract top talent. Denise served as the Director of Technology and Chief Information Officer in roles in independent schools for 22 years and served as Board Chair of the Association of Technology Leaders in Independent Schools, and that was in Florida. So this was her short bio. Obviously, you might want to reach out to her on LinkedIn and see more of her accomplishments. But welcome, Denise. I'm so happy that you're here with me today.
Thanks, Nancy. I did invite my friends and colleagues to join us. So if they're watching, I want to say hi to my friends and colleagues. Atlas, the Association of Technology Leaders in Independent Schools, especially. I'm still the board chair of that organization. Great. And it is actually a national organization.
Oh, wow. Excellent.
So we serve technology leaders all over the world, not just in the US. So I'm very proud to support that organization as a volunteer leader.
Oh, great. No, that's fascinating. So I guess I'm just curious, what brought you in? How did you know I want to go into technology? What was it for you that brought you into that space that actually not as obviously more and more women are starting to go into, but you're a pioneer in it. So why did you go there?
Well, it's an interesting story in that my parents immigrated to the United States as teenagers.
Oh.
And my mom and dad met. My dad was in Vietnam and met my mom, and then they got married and they decided to pursue entrepreneurship.
Right.
And my dad opened a service station, an automobile service station that was called Denise's Service Station. They were so proud to have a daughter. And I grew up in the Bronx in a service station, literally.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. And as a result of that, it was really normal for me to be surrounded by technical things.
Right.
And my dad and my mom never treated me like I didn't belong there.
Right.
So it felt very natural to be in surroundings with technical tools and fixing things with our hands and that kind of thing. So we fast forward, we moved to Orlando, Florida when I was 11 years old.
Okay.
And at that time, repairing cars turned more computerized.
Right, right.
My dad had to purchase a computer to diagnose vehicles.
Okay.
I was in middle school and I spoke English, of course, fluently. It was really my first language.
Sure.
And my dad really didn't understand technology.
Okay.
So he asked me when I was in middle school to translate the manual to the computers that diagnose cars.
Wow.
And that, I think, when I think back and reflect, was pivotal. I was
Yes.
able to translate that manual to my dad and his mechanics when I was in middle school. And
Yeah, that's
that was
great.
really, really instrumental in me realizing that I had the capacity to translate complex issues.
That's wonderful.
And I
Wow, middle
never
school.
felt like I didn't belong there, right?
That's wonderful. So can you fix a car too?
I can do some fixing.
Yes, that's
I'm more mechanically inclined than most people who look like me,
right.
probably.
Yes.
But I don't do that.
Okay. Well, that's funny, and I bet, and I don't recall, but you might on your assessments, on your CDR assessments. I'm sure you have the STEM profile, but also that you have that 100% on curiosity, being able to take things apart. I have a really low score, so if it's broken, it's just broken. You
Yeah.
know, but in your case, you can fix and you
Yes.
can diagnose it. That's great.
Yeah.
And so then you went in for your computer science, the bachelor's degree. And
Yeah.
where did you go? Where did you go to college?
So I started thinking I was going to become an attorney because I worked in a law firm when I was in high school.
Right.
And I was helping a law firm as a runner, something that they had in the early days when people had to run documents to courthouses.
Sure.
And in that role, the office manager entrusted me to back up all of the new computers that these attorneys were using because nobody else could figure that out. This is me in high school. Like, this is
Oh
crazy.
my goodness. Yeah.
And I was responsible for restoring all of the files that they accidentally deleted with these new computers that they didn't know how to use. So it didn't take me very long to figure out that I had an aptitude for technology, but not before I got a legal studies degree. So I got a legal studies degree, worked in a legal industry as a paralegal for several years, realized that my passion and interest were in technology. And I went back to school and decided to enroll at University of Central Florida.
Good. Okay.
For a degree in management of information systems, which at the time was new.
Right.
And there was one of very few women in the early 90s pursuing that.
Okay. Great. No, that's fabulous. But it's so funny how early on, middle school, you already had this aptitude and were using the skills, and even into high school. And sometimes people don't come back to that, what they're really good at. I mean, we know that in the assessments, you could have stayed in that legal paralegal world, but yet you found your calling. And look what you've done since. So that's just great. So then the next question is, so you've had this great career in business at the schools, nonprofits, et cetera. So what has brought you into executive coaching? So now you're an executive coach. You're still on a board, so you're keeping, all that moving. But what brought you to executive coaching?
I loved being a chief technology officer, chief information officer, and solving those complex problems really brought me a lot of energy.
Yes.
But it was also a 24/7 exhausting position.
Right.
And I care deeply about spending time with my family and being present to raise my children.
Okay.
So when I was working on my master's degree with 3 kids, I actually completed my master's when my son started college.
Wow.
I went back for it when he started college. So it was like a goal of mine to get that master's degree. And during that master's level leadership work,
my
thesis was around women in technology.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
And I did all of my research about what roadblocks and struggles women in technology were facing, because I understood them very personally, but I wanted to understand the research around it.
Right.
And it became a passion of mine to really lean into moving those obstacles that I learned about.
Right.
They were so present for me and so deep for me because I also experienced them.
Sure.
So when I started paying attention to what my friends and colleagues came to me for, they were really trying to tap into that sage energy that I have, this
Yeah,
wisdom that I've acquired over 25 years of experience.
sure.
And I was like, well, I love that. I love it that they come to me for that. And I love that they feel valued, seen, and capable of leaning into whatever is holding them back. Well, that's the definition of a coach.
Right, right. So you naturally moved into that, obviously.
Yeah, it was just it. I wanted to be tech adjacent. I didn't want to leave the field because I love technology and I love
Right.
tech people.
Sure.
So
They're your people.
they're my people. And
Yeah.
I wanted to serve them, but I wanted to serve them more than I wanted to serve the technology, right?
Right.
Because
Right.
in serving them, technology advances.
Exactly. And the other thing is often what we see in our data and work over these, 25 years is, a lot of the tech people are not people oriented. That's not their thing. So you have this kind of a hybrid where you're both great at technology, but good with people too. So I think in that way, serving as an executive coach is ideal for you because they need you because many of them don't communicate as well, or they're just not, people focused
Yeah.
as easily.
You
So
know,
that's great.
yes, that's true. I mean, the stereotype is that most technology professionals are more introverted and they're more analytical in that they are really looking for black and white solutions. And as we know, leading others and leading yourself is not black and white.
No, no. And I will say though, too, it's we have data that supports that, by the way, that they are lower on interpersonal. They want to detach and isolate more. So when I say that, I mean, we
Yeah.
see the data and that's more their nature. So you're kind of like, you've got a different profile where you're great with technology and people. And what I'm saying is that's more rare. So
Yeah.
it's great that you're giving back. So the other thing I'm curious about though, with your thesis, what you mentioned, just what are a few of the obstacles that you researched that you found for that, impact women in technology? I'm curious to hear what the key obstacles were that you found.
Well, I mean, I think that the primary obstacle for women in technology and other individuals who don't see themselves in that role, right, because there are some other minority
Right.
position, is that there's a real double bind for them where they can't show up and honestly seek feedback from their supervisors and leaders because then they are held back because they're asking questions about areas in which they are having challenge. So it's very, very difficult to step in to a room with your supervisor, who in many cases is male.
Right, right.
To say, I'm really struggling with this because there's a lot wrapped up in the male and female dynamic when
Okay.
a supervisory
Gotcha.
relationship exists.
Yep. No, and I can see that. And
So
yeah,
women are just going to go outside of that structure to
right.
find solutions because they don't trust the structure that they view as holding them back.
Right, right. And
Right.
also, it sounds like too, they see it's too vulnerable to put yourself out there with this super male supervisor who might be too judgmental in certain ways versus
Right.
seeing these as developmental discussions, which are natural, normal, and helpful to people.
Yeah. I mean, it takes someone who has a lot of confidence
Right.
to lean into asking for support, looking for sponsors that are going to understand them without judging them.
Right.
And to see them for their skills instead of their gender.
Right. And of course, I've written 2 research books on women in leadership now. And similarly, yeah, the problem is because women cope under stress differently, they're judged more harshly. But the men tend to use aggression, the women pull back and think, right? Under conflict in that. And so, but using aggression is not more effective, but yet it's judged as being more courageous. So same kind of thing. And so the woman is judged wrongly or held back while the men are propelled forward. So some of the things, so we've been working a similar path trying to get at these things. But you're right. Women, because they tend to sometimes worry or just have a different profile, they might often are more introspective, right? They're looking for feedback. Many men are not looking for feedback.
Yeah, I mean, in my experience, my clients really want honest feedback.
Right,
And
right.
they don't feel like what they're hearing from their supervisors or their mentors is honest.
Yeah. And I think too, we've kind of also, I guess, in defense of some of that, between, how we're evolving, different things happening. I think we've also put some fear into men, so they're afraid to be candid with us, if that makes sense. And
Yeah, I get
especially
that.
younger women, because they don't want to be offensive. So then they say nothing, and that's not helpful.
Right.
Right. So it's kind of a vicious cycle now that we're in. So that's where I think for women to have a mentor, several mentors, and a coach, and a coach, like you said, I find the same thing too in terms of honesty. That's what people appreciate most, I think, about like our assessments. We go deep, we help them get really self-aware, but we don't sugarcoat. We don't pretend. If they have an issue, certain risks, we talk about it. We don't like run for the hills, right?
Yeah, I love the assessment because it's so relatable and honest.
Right.
And it makes it easier to interpret because it's so direct. And that is one of the things that really attracted me to the assessment.
Right.
The fact that I can offer to clients and to organizations a data-informed assessment that is backed by deep research.
Right.
And decades of data.
Yes.
Accelerates leadership. I mean, it just does.
Oh, I love it too. That, for me, the acceleration point. And I tend to be, I guess, a little bit type A, if you will, like, let's get this done, moving, So for me, when I'm in a coaching engagement, from day one, we hit the ground running from that first coaching session. So for me, that time issue, and I think executives appreciate that. They're busy. They don't want, and leaders, so I think they love that they can really get clear from that first session. Because, otherwise I see a lot of recently wrote an article that should be coming out soon, actually, for ACEC about, I think I wrote that one for them. Anyway, about how when you're not using a proper instrument, I feel like you're almost dancing. You're like getting to know, what's that song? Getting to Know You. You know that song? And it can take months and months. And you're only nipping around at the edges of what we get from the first coaching session.
So I've always been really intent on using data-based
Good.
Assessment with my teams when I was working in the field. And I always applied some kind of assessment, right? So that evaluations would be more than just subjective, but they could be more objective and we could have dialogue. And the other assessments that I've used did not go deep.
Right.
They were very superficial. And as a result, the kind of growth and development that I could empower my team members to acquire was limited, right? Because I didn't have enough information, and neither did they.
Exactly.
We were throwing spaghetti at the wall to figure out what was going to make sense for them and their strengths.
Exactly.
Right? And now it's a roadmap. I with my client have a roadmap where we can dig deep and understand where is best for them to invest their time and their energy to get the most impact.
Great.
And I don't think there's another assessment out there that can do that.
Yeah. And, the other point to your point of using different assessments in the past, one of the things that I love, I love coaching, that's obvious, but I use it quite often for team development, C-suite development, whatever. And so after you've coached everyone on the team, you have the data, then you can go into team development. And that is like, because then you have this diagnostic, you have data to say, this is what's working and here's some of your disconnects. And often, just like these risks and other behaviors are often misjudged, they're misunderstood. So now when you have it, people go, oh my goodness, that makes sense. It's just, I had one group that their adjustment was different. So you had a really high self-confident, laid back faction. And then you had the other ones that were intense. I want it yesterday, just a lot of nervous energy, etc. And I divided them by those traits, and we went through some activities. But they said to me, "What are you, a magician or something? Are you psychic? How did you know? How did you know that we weren't getting along?" These two but it was, and the leader happened to be in the low group, so pushing a button. But anyway, so I think when you get to that, you're going to love that too, because it does give you
so
that.
Excited to have the opportunity to apply the assessment to teams.
Yeah,
I'm actually launching a group cohort.
Oh, good.
So everybody who joins the group cohort gets the assessment, and I'll be able to do some team analysis. Those individuals are not in the same organization. So
okay. But still, it still gives you that practice.
But it gives us some practice.
And not only that, though, but it will help them in their own organizations recognize that maybe, it can still help them, I think, as they approach people on their own teams.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm really excited about that group cohort that's going to launch in September 12th. Exactly.
Good.
I'm enrolling now, which is so exciting.
Is it a technology group of?
Yes. Women in tech are invited to join me in this group cohort. It's a 12-week opportunity. We meet bi-weekly. And in the in-between weeks, they get to do some coursework that I've developed online.
Oh, excellent. So make sure anyone watching that you reach out to Denise on LinkedIn, and you can also provide your email address or whatever, or website too. So yeah. So great. That's going to be fascinating. I years ago when we were based in Tulsa, we were in Tulsa for 17 years, and I was part of what they called EWF, Executive Women's Forum or Foundation. I loved it because it was other women CEOs, and we had the entrepreneurs, and then we had the corporate groups, and and I worked with different groups too, doing offsites, but I was a member too, so I had the benefit of the peer coaching. It was fabulous. So
it's definitely those small groups really elevate everyone, because you can get you share the knowledge of everyone, and shared knowledge is powerful.
Yeah. So, and I can always give you names of people who facilitate that can give you insights in that too. Okay. But they did. It was really, in fact, here in the Houston metro area, I miss that, I miss having the ladies that I was, meeting with monthly. So, but I still go to see them in Tulsa when I can.
So. Give me a second. I need to tell my Alexa to be quiet.
Okay.
Stop. She's trying to get in on our interview.
That's funny. Well, maybe she's probably better at asking questions than I am. So
no, I don't think so.
So now obviously we're kind of a quasi, if you will, tech company a little bit, because we have, as you know, CDR coach that you tried as you were going through certification. But that's been fascinating to me. It's not AI, but it feels like it to people, because it's the algorithms of the feedback are so rich and so personalized. So anyway, so here I am at this stage of my career, kind of we're dabbling in tech, and we've got tech support obviously, or we wouldn't have been able to develop it. So but it's been fascinating. So maybe that could have been part of my calling back in the day a little bit.
Maybe. I mean, you did lean into providing a technology solution to something that needed a revamp, right? And you offered it to the world, and it's serving the world well. I found when I did all of the research about the different assessments out there and available, number one, and I'm just going to call it out, is everywhere you look, every list you look at is a old white guy. And the audience that I'm serving is not that.
Right.
I'm serving a very different audience that doesn't look like that. Those systems don't resonate with them. I wanted to find a system that was created by women, that understood how women worked, that was data informed, and that was richly researched. Your solution that you created 25 years ago with your partner, and put all the checks in the boxes.
Oh,
for that. And wonderful. You developed the CDRU, which is a technology solution, which I can also utilize for clients
Right.
who can't connect with me one-on-one or who need to scale the solution. And I love that about the solution. It was the only option when I looked at the field, right?
Yes. And as far as we know, with the research we've done, we're still the only one that has that type of a digital avatar coaching system that actually does a full debrief, personalized.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, there's obviously a lot of AI and different technologies, Pocket Coach and this and that, all these other things, but they're more just in time vignettes of, oh, you need some questions to ask, coaching questions for your people. Here's some questions. Or do you need help with time management? Here's, you know, that's very different, obviously, than what we've done. Now, I'm not saying that I'm not poo-pooing those things, because I think they can be great support.
Yeah.
Any tools that help people, I'm all for it. So, but that ours is different. So, and I know you appreciate it with your background. So that's exciting. And the reason we developed it, I don't know if you knew this, but we were actually asked if we could by the U.S. Army Civilian University. We were providing assessments as they coach some of their top people, but their Dr. Leslie McDade Morrison, another woman, came to me and said, Nancy, we love the assessments, but we want to roll it down. We got like 10,000 employees. Could you come up with something like digital or avatar? And I go, well, yeah, I think so. Let me get on that. And that's how it happened. So that, and then, you know, eventually she's retired now, but we did accomplish it, you know, after she retired. But I had her on, I actually had her on CDR Live too.
I watched that.
Yeah. Yeah, so she was delightful to work. We even worked with her at the Pentagon too. So just fascinating. She was one of the, I mean, it's wonderful when you have clients and coaches who are just brilliant and do all kinds of things. So she was always coming up with these ideas and things. She was just fabulous. So
well, I'm excited to see how I might apply using CDRU. The Central Florida area is rich with Department of Defense opportunities and other space opportunities. There's plentiful women in tech.
Good, yeah.
That could benefit. Yeah. So I am really, really excited to see how this might impact progress.
Good, yeah.
In that area.
Oh, that'll be great. And are you, and this may sound odd on the interview, but are you a certified women-owned business yet?
Not yet. I'm working on that. I'm going to be before the end of this year.
Good, good. We've been certified, believe it or not, since the year 2000. So
wow.
Yeah, WeBank certified. And we've always retained it. We don't market that heavily, but we are, and we think it's an important certification, and it supports women enterprises, obviously.
Yeah.
So, but you know, it's great for you to have, since you're in Florida with these different organizations, state government, federal, and others really appreciate it. So good for you.
Yeah.
Let's see. And so what do you think in terms of your clients in tech? How do that? We talked a little bit about this, but how do you think they differ from, say, maybe manufacturing or service industry? Do you think they're a little bit of a unique? Are you finding any patterns or?
You know, when I think about the clients that I serve, which interestingly, I serve both men and women. I have.
Correct. Yeah. Right. Right.
So even though I'm speaking to women in my, you know, on here and on all of the things, I serve both men and women because it's important that I have diversity of clients as well. I think that what I observe is a deep knowledge of scientific reasoning, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Very elevated there.
Yes.
And they tend to have lower leadership energy.
Correct. Yes.
Because they're not wired to work with people routinely. They're working with systems.
Yes. Yes. And they're,
systems are programmable. And people are more complicated. So while they're astute at scientific reasoning and business and finance specifically, their numbers with regard to interpersonal areas may be lower. The interesting thing is women in the field are off the charts on interpersonal relationships.
Right.
which is fabulous for the field.
Well, and it's also fabulous for leadership because,
Yes.
you know, it frequently, we'll look at CIOs and we're lucky if they have a 20 on interpersonal sensitivity. They're very low. So when you're bringing more women in with higher scores, that's going to be fabulous for the industry because they will build better teams. They'll communicate better. They'll be able to give feedback,
Exactly.
develop, be a talent advocate.
And I think when I think of people more holistically, that false advocate seems to be pretty present in many of the people that I coach. And I think that's because they don't feel a part of the decision making, the system. Maybe they feel behind the scenes. So they're not comfortable with pushing against directly, and instead kind of go along with things and work behind the scenes to have influence. So, and they're typically in pretty stressful roles.
Yeah. And I agree. We see a lot of that, but it didn't come from the job they're in. They were that way first. So that's what the assessments tell us, just kind of FYI, that they were already had that tendency to go quiet and not be controversial or combative, and be respectful, and also sometimes false advocate, believe it or not, has, there's some influences based on where we're raised on the false advocate. Like people from Asia, India, almost always have high false advocate because they're always respectful and they never take on in the moment someone. Same with many people from the Bible Belt, same thing. So they're polite to a fault.
Yeah.
And you get that. I think the other thing is that you mentioned is also because of their high interpersonal, right? They're kind.
Yeah. They don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
So they hold back and then they suffer in silence, right?
Yeah. They suffer in silence. The other thing that I love about the assessment, so whenever I get the assessment results, I feel like this scientist. I'm putting on my coat to investigate, this opportunity that I have with this client to uncover their potential. And
right.
It's clear, right? It's amazing.
Yeah, it's like what I love too. It's like when you get the data sheet, it's like a puzzle you're putting together.
Yeah.
And pulling it into their life, how does that all fit? It is fast. That part is fascinating.
I can't, every client without a doubt is having aha moments.
Great.
About who they are, how they fit into their organizations more specifically, and what it is that they can do to lean into their strengths.
Exactly.
And those drivers the drivers is my favorite report.
Oh, good.
Right? Because it uncovers in many ways what their secret sauce is.
Yes.
And they totally, some of them don't realize how strong these drivers are in the way that they show up.
Exactly.
And if they're not tapping into those drivers and rewards,
yes,
they're not really happy in their roles.
Exactly. And that, especially for women, I think is a real call out because so many women lose track of, I'm not happy. I don't know why. I think it's because I'm so busy. Well, it's also because you're not working towards your passion to what you will. So I love that you said that because I don't, so many people get a little mesmerized with the risks because it is new and different language. But I agree with you that, and for me, the other thing I love about the drivers, if people are tapping into those, they can't be stressed at the same time. So the risks aren't showing up.
Exactly.
So I tell some people the best way to manage your risks is be happy, which sounds corny, but you see that, that but if I'm doing work that I really get excited about, I can't be all stressed out or angry or having other issues at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, it's fascinating and I love it. The insights that they gain and the empowerment that they feel because they have clarity about how they can explain what they need out of a role. One of the takeaways that I'd share with, leaders that are listening is that the CDR assessment and the coaching provide the language to use so that you can ask more specifically for what you need in a role to feel successful instead of somebody else defining it for you.
Yes. You know exactly what you want and need. And then, so it's part of that discussion, and you have data to support it.
Yes.
And the other thing I think for your space, what I love about people in technology and in the sciences is they get it. They get it. I mean, not that others don't, they do to some degree, but I feel like the scientists really get it.
Yeah.
And the technology people, engineers, there are people, and sometimes, and the financial people too, because they get the numbers, they get it.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So that makes it.
It's a powerful tool.
Yeah. And one other thing I was going to mention, when we work on action plans, I look at the drivers a lot, just like you. And, I can't tell you how many executive women I've said, okay, you have high amusement and hedonism. So your action plan is to go have more fun, go do things that make you happy, entertaining, enjoying life again. Stop being the workaholic, get out of the office, get yourself scheduled to do these different things that are fun to you. Yeah. So anyway, but they'll laugh at me when they say, oh, so you're telling me I have to have fun? I'm like, yeah, that's part of it.
It's so much fun when you have to give them the prescription to go, do the things that make them happy.
Exactly. Whether it's artistic or scientific, or in your case, you're going to get, as you said, a lot of high science, but you'll get some other things too in combination. Business,
I've had several who have a combination of high science and artistic.
Oh yeah, that's very common.
Which is fabulous, because
Right.
I feel like they're incredible from a diversity perspective on teams, because they have both.
Oh yeah.
It's fabulous.
And sometimes that's where you'll get like some of the technology or engineers, especially for some reason, like electrical, I'm thinking, they're like musicians too. They're great artists. I've had both. I've had people that paint, dry line, that are just fabulous, and concert level pianists who are also, in their day jobs, they're engineers, or they're technology people. So but that's because they have both science and art, right?
Yeah.
So that's fascinating. So what excites you the most, or what are the top things that you get back from being a coach? What does it do for you, Denise, in being a coach?
I mean, for me, I get back a lot of satisfaction in knowing that I'm helping my clients move the needle on their success.
Great.
I am driven. It's one of my drivers is to help other people succeed.
Good.
And I love the deep connection that comes from working with clients. I work with clients for a minimum of 6 months in a coaching engagement.
Okay.
And the reason for that is I'm looking to connect with people who are looking for a transformation, not an easy fix.
Right. Okay. So you're taking on some of the more challenging cases too.
Yeah. And that's right up my alley, because I love complexity and I love translating.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know. We will tuck that away. we get some challenging cases, and that's good to know. And not everyone's well suited to do that. And I have another fellow. I actually was on his podcast, and he and one of our coaches too does this. They deal with abrasive leaders as their specialty. So that's I kind of get them all. I get all kinds. So but I like the idea that you do the complex. Transformational.
The transformational piece to me hits all the marks for who I am in their things, because I get to be on this journey alongside as a thought partner, as an accountability partner, as a questioner, so that they can get to their goals.
Yes.
And they drive because it is their journey.
Yes.
But to be able to support them in this space that we create every 2 weeks or every month, whatever the frequency is so empowering for both of us.
Right.
I get as much out of it as they do when I see the light go off.
Absolutely. I'm with you on that. In the coaching process, I don't know that there's a better feeling. I remember, we'd be doing so much coaching early on, Kim and I, my business partner, Kim Leffridge. And sometimes, you're just tired, right? But as soon as you go into that session, boom, it just picks you, you're energized again, even though you could be like, as soon as you go in, it just fills you, in a, I don't know, it just brings you back to life.
Well, one of the things that I tell my clients is when they come into the coaching space with me, it's the one place where they should have zero stress, because we're being honest and vulnerable, and there's no homework in that space unless they assign it to themselves.
Right.
And if what they need is not more homework, I'm going to remind them that they don't need any more homework.
Yes.
Good. And if what they need is more homework as self-defined, then I will remind them that they need to move forward. But it's a place where they can show up as their authentic selves.
Yes.
Where they can be honest and challenge their thinking. And I will question their thinking so that they can elevate it.
Yes.
And it's totally without judgment.
Right. Right.
I'm not going to judge what they decide to do. That's not my job.
No. And, and it's so interesting. That's exactly right. You're there to help them reach whatever that is. I've had people like maybe on different sides of the spectrum in terms of certain beliefs or whatever, and I still try to facilitate them. You need to go do that again, even though I might think I would never do that, but it's good for them.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it makes them happy, they ought to be doing it, and because again, that working on things or volunteering on things that really bring you satisfaction will make you a better, happier employee leader.
Yeah. And, I'm wired to kind of deflect my own success. Even though I'm on this live with you, this is not my natural disposition. I'm not like looking for this, even though I enjoy doing it because I know that the result is making connections with people who could benefit from this work.
Right.
That's what drives me. And because the coaching is not about me, I love it.
Yes. Yes. Good. No, that's great. So, what do you see though now as your greatest challenge or challenges that you're facing as you're, in this executive coaching business?
Well, I think that realizing that there's more people out there than I can help is a wonderful problem, and also one that frustrates me because I wish I could duplicate myself and work with everyone, but I can't. I have to limit my time so that I can be at my best with my clients. And the other one that is persistent, Nancy, is individuals who need this are so used to investing in their organizations, and they're wired to invest in professional development that serves their organizations, right?
Yes.
But when it comes to serving themselves and being present for themselves, it's difficult for them to see themselves as worth the investment.
That's interesting.
Because especially people who are underrepresented in male-dominated fields, they don't think that they deserve to ask for executive coaching. And I can't put my finger on that, but it's interesting to me that unless someone told them that they need it,
yes,
they want it, but they're not comfortable with asking for it.
Yeah. And again, so especially a lot of people are worriers, so they go inside their head versus reaching for help. It's kind of that same problem that you researched in the beginning is, I'm afraid to ask, I'm afraid to really seek some solid development, because how will that be perceived? And will they get angry? Will they have the funds? So we go through all these what ifs rather than, saying, hey, I found a great executive coach I'd like to work with, and she has a great track record.
Yeah.
So, right. That's that whole fear, of fear of failure, fear of making a mistake, fear of being perceived as weak.
Fear of being perceived as weak is persistent in the individuals that I serve. And that's, again, a double bind for them, because they don't see themselves as deserving of an investment by their organization for this kind of support.
And that's probably where you need to write some articles, right?
No, no, yeah, I'm doing it. It's on my
Yeah,
blog.
yeah, yeah.
It's out
So
there.
no, that is
Yeah, yeah,
that is
yeah,
frustrating.
yeah.
So, and by the way, too, if you ever, obviously, CDRU coach can help
Yes.
augment your service, as well as always know in our CDR coaching community, we have a lot of executive coaches. Of course, you know Carolyn, but there's many others too that can always support you. And that's what we do when we have coaching projects. We bring certified coaches in to help us. So same goes though. We can always, and you know that because you've worked with a couple
Yeah,
already
I have.
at our Coaches Connect meetings.
Yeah. I mean, one of the primary reasons that I decided to choose CDR as what I call a powerful partner with Tech and Thrive is because of the support system and the access that I have to you and other coaches, because then I'm not just a solo
Right.
entrepreneur, but I have an entire team of individuals who are experts to support me and my clients. And I love
Right.
about this.
Yeah. And the other thing we even do, and you might find you'll get it though, is we even sometimes match the client, the executive or the client with the coach by way of their profiles too.
Oh yeah, that's so
Industry's important, obviously your tech and all that, but also profiles, because you don't want this super high interpersonal sensitivity person to be matched with a brute with egotist, low interpersonal.
Yeah.
Unless they've gotten over that, as we work in, as you know, in certification, you got to put your game face on. So some people with high interpersonal sensitivity can do it, but some are a little too kind.
Yeah. I've had some pep talks from you on being direct and honest with some of my more complicated clients.
Yes.
Who've appreciated it.
Yeah. It's so important because if we don't show that assertiveness and directness, they'll run over you if they think they can.
Yeah.
They're kind of they may manipulate and that sort of thing. So the coach always has to put the game face on and understand who they're coaching. So, well, great. So, I guess we're starting to get close to time. So, what advice do you have for women leaders and leaders in general? Just what's your advice from Denise to become the best you can be?
I think that when I developed the Thrive operating system, which is the framework I use with all of my clients, the number one thing, the transparent assessment, is critical to understanding what's next.
Right.
So my advice is you really can't make progress if you don't understand who you are at your core. And if that's not clear to you, the rest is really difficult.
Great.
So my advice is find a partner or someone. And if it's not CDR, just find clarity.
Right.
Find the thing that's going to provide you that clarity that you need so that you can lean into your strengths and the things that drive you, because the rest of it is really complicated if you don't have that.
Right. That's great. Well, this has been just delightful. I've had so much fun talking with you. I knew your energy would come through, and your background's fascinating. I love the story of the garage working in all of it.
I grew up in the service
station. Any final comments before we close that you?
Well, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to join you here. You've been a mentor. You're an industry expert, and the fact that I have access to you and other coaches like you to support my clients is something that I am so grateful for. And I am so glad that my journey intersected with your journey in this way. And I can't wait to see what we create together in the future.
Okay, well, great. I can't wait either. It's so exciting to me to have someone like specializing in technology and a great coach. So we're very excited to work with you. And I just thought this was a great opportunity. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Nancy.
Okay.